Hey y'all.
Hey.
Ooh.
Ooh. You go.
Ooh. So what's up? We're back with another episode. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. It's Kenzie.
And I'm Austin.
And this is
And they were roommates.
We have it on lock.
We're good.
Mm.
So today we thought we would do a highly anticipated episode, well requested topic. The topic of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And just mental health in general. Something we both struggle with and work on the daily. So,
and I think it's more of an open conversation nowadays than when we were younger dealing with it, which is so awesome. And I feel like everyone should be able to talk about their struggles freely
and be open about it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like nothing to be ashamed of at all. I guess we should just jump in by talking about like how or when did you first start experiencing anxiety?
Well, so as most of you know, I grew up on a reality show and it was very huge.
Yeah.
It's weird to think about. But I definitely had some struggles during the show and during filming just because I was incredibly anxious, but I had no idea what it meant. Like I would have panic attacks and I would shake a lot, and it was not as bad as it was after I got off the show, but no one really told me what it was. So after I got off the show, I went to therapy when I was 12 or 13, I think it was. And they were like, oh, you 1,000% have anxiety. And I knew that I had something wrong with me because I started to disassociate a lot, which was like really weird for me because I hate being not in control of my body no matter what the circumstances. Like it's a weird feeling. It's an out of body experience that I feel like you only understand if you've disassociated. But I remember the first time I had a really, really bad panic attack where I was like, oh, I know something's wrong with me. I was driving in the car and my mom's old best friend, well, still best friend at the time, but still best friend now. Sorry. But at the time she would drive me to all my sessions and stuff. And because my mom had 2 kids and we would both be doing something. So she would drive me to my sessions, and I remember coming back home and it was like late, and I lived in Silver Lake, and I think it was like a really long drive, and I was sitting in the front seat and I just snapped out of my body really, really quick. Like it was just like, you know when you feel that like anxiety wave come, it honestly, it feels like a wave like throughout your entire body, and I just fully felt like high. Like I just felt like I was not there physically. And I just remember like freaking out. I was shaking. I was sobbing. I was also like nonverbal. Like I couldn't speak. Like it was just such a weird feeling for me. And that's when that all started. And still continues. Yeah.
But it's wild being on the other side of understanding what it is. Because like when you don't understand it and you're young and no one's really like talking about it, like people say they're anxious about things, and then like you're like, wait, but I thought I had anxiety. So then you start to think like, wait, is something like really fucked up with me? Because this is not what I'm relating to other people or hearing from other people.
1,000%. And I would try to talk about it with like my friends or even my family at the time, because like I said, it wasn't like an open conversation like it is now. So it was like really hard for me to like go to my mom and be like, hey, I don't know what's going on with me. And it would always just result to me like thinking I'm dying, obviously. But yeah, it was really tricky because no one understood what I was going through because it sounded so severe, and I think people thought I was being dramatic most of the time but it seriously is like the scariest, not the scariest, but it's a scary feeling when you don't know
I mean, it's
what
terrifying.
it is. And for me now, it's not scary because I know what it is. But like when you don't know, like when you haven't come to the conclusion, like, oh yeah, I might just like have anxiety. Like when you have no label to put on it, you just feel like out of control. You feel like insane.
Something's really wrong with you. Yeah, it's horrible. I remember being young and like I literally, well, I had like, I wouldn't say I was like an anxious child, but like I always grew up really self-conscious after the age of, like, mainly once I started being in like middle school, honestly. I just felt so different than so many kids. And so like I think I had slight anxiety, social anxiety, and like fear of judgment, but I really dealt with like disassociation and panic attacks after like one time I was driving in the car to move to LA and I was with my dad and we're like 2 hours, 3 hours into the drive and I was so excited. I was like, I'm about to go live out my dreams. Like, this is amazing. And I originally wanted to be an actor. So that was like my plan. So I was so happy. And then all of a sudden, like that nervous anxiety, excitement anxiety started morphing into like dread and like fear. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? And I'd never really like expressed this as a kid, you know, like, I mean, in society, it wasn't really like a thing to be like, why are you anxious? Why do you feel that way? You know, and like work through it. So all of a sudden I was like, Dad, I feel sick. Like, can we pull over? Like, I wanted so badly to be like, can we go home? Like, I want to go home. But I was like afraid because like they were doing so much for me, you know? So we pulled over. I like threw up for a while in this like diner in the middle of nowhere. And then we got in the car and I was like, I want to go home. Like, this isn't right. Like, something's wrong. And he was like, okay. So we like drove all the way back home. And then after that is when it was like the dark night of the soul. I don't know if you've heard that expression, but it's like when you like have something sort of traumatic happen and then like you go into this sort of like gloomy, like really depressing, disassociating like state.
Yeah.
And getting out of it's really not easy. It's possible. If anyone's in it, it's possible because I never knew if I would, but I did. But that's when I first started having them.
Yeah.
It was pretty gnarly. They would come out of nowhere.
That's the weirdest part about it because you can't really control it.
Yeah.
Like, you just never know when it's going to come. It's just like, oh, hey, I'm here.
Or, like, did you ever have that feeling where, like, things would be good for a sec, but it was more normal to feel disassociated than normal?
Yeah.
So when things would feel normal, it was, like, weird, and you were, like, you would get, like, the butterflies because you knew, like, this wasn't normal to feel good and, like, present.
Yeah.
That was the weirdest thing to me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I went through a period where I was just I was not in my body for months at a time. Like, it was, so I get exactly what you're saying. It's like, when I would feel normal, I'd just be like, what? Like, this is just not, it is not normal, but it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's supposed to be. I'm also a hypochondriac. So the two together, put together, is the worst combo actually ever. Like, you're not a hypochondriac, are you? No.
I think I went through a little phase for like maybe a few months when I was younger, but that's about it.
It's real, like, it actually is the one thing that I struggle with the most in my life is just like having anxiety and being a hypochondriac, because when I was younger I laugh and it's not funny, but it's just like going back and thinking about it is hilarious to me. But like, my sister was in this movie and it was called The Book of Henry, if you haven't seen it, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to spoil it for you because you won't understand unless I tell you. But basically, Henry has a brain tumor, and throughout the whole movie, he's having symptoms, but you don't know what it is. And then at the end of the movie, he's in the hospital and he passes away, I think. And
that is so triggering for a hypochondriac.
Oh, yeah, it is. And especially because the symptoms are like, you have a headache, you are dizzy, you are, like it was just that kind of thing. And I saw the movie twice before the premiere just because my sister was in it, so I could see it twice. She's a movie star. Anyways, I saw it twice. Didn't feel anything about it. I was like, oh my God, favorite movie. Can't wait to see it again. Like, it's such an amazing movie. It's so sweet, and she did so amazing in it. And I went to the premiere, and I'm sitting with all my friends. Like, there's literally the whole row in the movie theater is me and all my friends. And I'm, like, watching the movie, and I have seen it before. I know what's coming next. I know what's happening. And I come to the realization. I'm like, oh my God, this just makes so much sense to me. I have a brain tumor. Like, I have a brain tumor. And I remember going up to my mom, and I was having a panic attack as well. So, like, I'm convincing myself I have a brain tumor. Yeah. I'm shaking. I'm freaking out at this, like, premiere with, like, a bunch of people. I walk outside. I tell my mom, I'm like, Mom, I need to go to the hospital. Like, I think I have a brain tumor. And she was like, Kenzie, we just watched the movie. Like, you obviously think that because of the movie. And I'm like, no. But those are all my symptoms. And she took me to like 5 different hospitals in that next week because I was just like, maybe it'll go away. And then it didn't, because once I tell myself I have something, I will
hyperfixated.
I will not even force, but like I will start to have those symptoms of like getting dizzy and I remember at that time, I don't know if you remember, but like I couldn't go on roller coasters because I would pass out on them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because
I think I came into your life a little after this.
Maybe. I like would go to amusement parks and I would sit out because I was like, I'm going to pass out on this ride because I have a brain tumor. Like it was such a struggle. It was an everyday struggle. It really was. And I would sleep with like a humidifier on my face and like I was just insane. But yeah, I went to 5 different hospitals, got my brain scanned 5 different times, and they showed me the scans. They were like, literally nothing is wrong with you. And I remember it was really hard for my mom because she was just sobbing every time because she just felt so bad for me. Because it was, I would tell the doctors, you're wrong. I'd be like, you're wrong. Like, yeah, you're lying. Like, I know something's wrong. And yeah, so after that it was just constant anxiety, thinking I was gonna die, and just like being dizzy. And my biggest fear is passing out as well. So like the 2 and 2 also don't go together. Like it was just a constant battle, and I was just always like, even being in a car for too long, I would like freak out.
Well, yeah, wasn't there a moment where you like couldn't drive?
Yeah, that was actually more recent.
I remember that.
Yeah, sorry, there's so many stories. God.
There's a lot to unpack.
And Ivy is like fucking up her bed over here.
Yeah, if you hear a dog grunting, she's
playing by herself. It's so sad.
Her bed.
She is. Yeah. She's in a fist fight. Yeah, so I'm sure also a lot of you know I got my nose done. Yeah. And I was so excited to get it done. Like, remember, I was like, this is,
oh yeah,
oh my God, this like changes my whole life, which it did. It really did. But I've wanted it ever since I was a kid. And I went to a lot of doctor's appointments and things beforehand. And I like totally didn't realize like, oh, I have to be put under for this. And like, I scared of passing out, also scared of going under. Same thing to me. I don't know.
Losing control.
Yeah, it's all about just not being in control of my body. And I was on the way to the dentist and I'm driving in my car and I'm like, oh my God, I have to go under. And my surgery was like 3 days after or something. And I start like freaking out, having a panic attack driving in my car. And then I pass out in my car while I'm on the freeway. And thank God I like snapped out of it, because it could have been really bad. I mean, the freeway is like,
That's so fucking
insane.
So insane.
It was so insane. Like I fully I blacked out, and I woke up and my car was still going because my foot was on the gas.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. And I like got off on the next exit, and I called my mom. And my mom is so funny in these situations, like when I have anxiety, because for Maddie and I both have anxiety. Maddie deals with it way differently than I do. Like, Maddie wants you to distract her and like, so what are you doing later? Like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I'm the opposite. I'm like, I need someone to talk me through it and be like, oh, you're fine. Like, everything's fine. Like, take a breather. Like, you know? So I never call my mom anymore. Sorry, Mom. I just don't. After this, I was like, never again. I call Maddie. But yeah, I pull off and I'm calling my mom, and I'm like, Mom, I just passed out on the freeway. I can't drive to my dentist. It was 3 minutes away, and I couldn't make it. I was like, I can't drive. You have to come pick me up. And she's like, Kenzie, you're fine. Like, so what? Do you want to go do something later? Like, well, and I'm like, Mom, I'm like, fucking listen. Like,
she does do that.
But it was her trying to like get me to get over it, and it's so nice. But that's just not how I deal with it. But then after that, for a month straight, I did not drive.
I remember
did not drive. And because I would sit in my car and I'd pass out. I would just get in the car and just freak out. So that was
crazy.
I've gotten over it though. Like, there's some times where I like feel it.
What do you think it all is coming from? Like, where do you, obviously you think back on your past and it's like reality show, but like what if you want to get into it, like what from that, what caused all this anxious energy that you now have to like draw from random shit?
It's really weird because I honestly don't know. Like, I know a lot of like, I'm scared of performing. I'm like, I get panic attacks before I perform. And like, even when I did the USC like dance thing, like I was staring at a stage and I almost passed out. Like, it's just, I think that's obviously from being like on a stage and then like being scared I'm gonna get killed when I get off the stage, you know, like that's what that stems from. But I don't know where the like the other shit comes from, like not being in control, because I've always been in control. I honestly just think it's just a lot of buildup, because when I first like had really bad panic attacks and anxiety, like it was really difficult for me, and it was like I just felt so like I don't even know how to explain it. I just felt like I was wrong. Like I was just like dumb and like not, I can't fit in anywhere. Like I was just like, I feel too out of the ordinary and so I think just like it getting increasingly worse and worse and worse. It's just like, I think it caused me to just break down, and just like passing out was just like my like way to snap out of it. I don't know. Yeah.
The way your body was like, okay, well, fuck, we're at this point now, like we have to cope somehow.
Yeah, I think so. It's just like shutting down. It just wants to shut down. It's
like, we're just gonna take 5.
Yeah, which is like understandable. Like, definitely. I get it, but like,
but it was that bad.
It was really, really, really bad. I feel like I might be so wrong, but I feel like you know how to cope with anxiety. Like, did it take you a while to like figure out how to deal with it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I was first of all just so caught off guard by this being my reality. It felt like I was living in a different reality for like a year when I was younger, probably around like 11 or so. And I really didn't think there was a way out. But yeah, I was just really caught off guard by it all, and I didn't think there was a way out. I genuinely was like, holy shit, like I don't know what's going on with me. It was so crazy. But I approached my parents and was like, I need a therapist. And they were like, what? They were like, okay. Like, they're not like psychologists by any means. They were just like, okay, he's coming to us about that. That's interesting. They obviously knew something was wrong. I think my whole family did, because I was like really fucked up for a second there.
Yeah.
I was just like really in my own world, and they were worried. And so I eventually found a therapist after trying a couple. And I think really the biggest thing I took away from like the things I learned in therapy and then like getting over it now and looking back is like slowing down. Like, we live in such a fast world and we're so used to going fast, and it's like the fucking food chain. Like, if we're not going fast during the day, like, you're gonna fall behind.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're not gonna get your homework done, or you know, you're not gonna make as much money as you need to make for rent, you know, like, or whatever it be. We're so used to being so fast. And
Yeah.
even if it's nothing, the whole world is fast, so you kind of have to be. And I think that in mind, and being sort of a habit I've adapted as a human, like, prevented me from understanding why this anxiety was happening and where it was coming from. So I think like a really big thing I learned was just in the moment, if I had anxiety, doing my best to like take a few breaths and like just slow down for a second and like just kind of find some peace if I can, and just like listen to it. And it sounds cliche, everyone says this, but like, what am I trying to tell myself right now? Like, why am I flaring up all of a sudden? And then like once you start to break down the walls and like understand it, then the momentum picks up from there, and you start to really figure it out after that.
You think therapy helped you?
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it really all depends on like your therapist, but be open-minded, because like at the beginning I was like, this is fucking weird and I hate this. Like, but as I stuck it out, I think it's important to try and stick it out.
For sure. I think
unless your person's actually raising red flags, then it's like find someone else.
Right. But I think everyone should do therapy no matter the circumstance. I just feel like right now I'm not doing therapy, but like therapy is worth it. It really does help, and it's so nice to have like an outside perspective.
Yeah.
Not even give you advice, but just like hear you out.
Yeah.
Like of course I talk to you about everything, and I talk to my mom and my sister. Well, my sister. There's some things I can't tell her. I'm joking.
But that's everyone with their mom.
Yeah, no, but like just talking to like my mom, my sister, and you, and like my friends, like it's so nice. But like, you know, friends are sometimes biased. Like you gotta, you have to listen to your therapist.
Yeah.
And
they also know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, it's their job.
Yeah.
And it's like everyone should try it, even if you don't like it. Like, just try it, because I'm sure it'll get some shit out of you. It's gotten some crazy shit out of me that I never thought I like was dealing with.
Is like you dig up things that like don't even exist in your memory.
Yeah.
They'll just pop up and you're like, holy shit, that's where all this comes from.
Yeah. I like didn't even think like I did therapy when I was younger, but I never talked about my dad because it was just like something I didn't really think affected me. And then the first time I did therapy, like when I turned 18 with like my newer therapist, she was just like, so like, how's your relationship with your dad? And I started sobbing, and I was also like, what? Like, while I'm crying, I was like confused, because I was like, I've never cried about this ever. Wow. Like, it was just such a wild, how just like that just like completely changed everything for me. Because even like if someone asked me that probably few years ago, I would have been like, we're not that close, whatever.
Yeah.
It was so interesting.
It's so wild. It's just like, parents are huge. I mean, even if you have great parents, like there's still things, everyone's different, everyone's imperfect. So like there's things that like from childhood, like there's so many, it's very complex, but like parents play a huge part.
For sure.
Have you discovered any ways to help you cope with anxiety as you've figured it out more?
Yeah, I think right now I'm honestly I'm the best I've ever been, which is so interesting because I feel like I've gone through quite a lot in this past few months, but I feel like I've just learned to cope with it by being okay with it being there. I just feel like when I was younger, I would just like try to avoid it and just act like it was not happening. And I think now I'm just like, hey, it's fine. Like I'm okay. It's okay to like be a bit stressed sometimes, and it's okay to like freak out. So this might sound so stupid, and like I'm sure this doesn't help a lot of people, but like I'm a big bath lover. Like I just think baths are it's just like my favorite form of self-care for any occasion. If I'm sick, if I'm tired, if I'm anything.
Yeah.
And it's cured my anxiety a lot. Yeah. Like when I have freakouts, I just literally hop in a bath, put some Epsom salt in it, and light a candle and just like lay there and just like think.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it's like where I feel the most like alone, I guess.
Huh. Yeah.
Because I feel like I feel like I'm never alone, like ever. And so it's just nice to like have that time. Even like going on a drive is like, and just going and sitting somewhere and just like taking time to yourself and just like being okay with having anxiety is just like a nice thing for me. I don't know.
It's so healing.
Yeah.
That's definitely something I did a lot. And I bonded with one of my really good friends in Oregon over this. It's just like going for a drive out somewhere away from people and just kind of putting on whatever music fits the vibe.
Yeah.
And just like thinking and being okay with the present moment. Yeah. I don't know. It's like healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last time I like had really bad anxiety, but it was like in a different way that I've never experienced it, which you were obviously around for all of it. But like I recently went through a breakup. Woo!
Weird, right?
That's weird.
Whoa.
That's really weird. I recently went through a breakup. I was dating someone for a really, really, really long time. The longest I've ever dated someone. Thank you. And it ended pretty okay.
Yeah, I think it ended good.
Yeah, it ended okay, but and I mentally was fine because, you know, I've been through this a bunch of times and like whatever, it happens. And that's life. You just have to move on. But my body was like not well. Like it was like my brain was fine. Like I wasn't like I was of course sad. You're going to be sad, but I was not like sobbing in my bed every day, and like I was going out, I was doing things, I was distracting myself.
So interesting.
And my body was like not registering what was going on. I've never felt that in my life. Like
so crazy.
I was throwing up so much. Like and that was a different, I know a lot of people, one, when they go through a breakup, that they experience that, but also like when people have anxiety, sometimes their coping mechanism is throwing up. And I've never had that, and that was the first time where I've had that, and it was very interesting.
So
like,
interesting.
It was just like, remember, we'd just be like walking around, and I'd be like, Austin, like I am gonna throw up. Like
it was like nauseous.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I need to go like throw up like I want to.
It was like
I'm gonna puke.
Like
right
I'm gonna
now.
puke on the floor right now if I don't go to a bathroom. Like it was, but it was just so strange because it was like I was fine, and my anxiety, I was really anxious. Like remember I was like really, really, really anxious when Maisie was here, and like, do you remember that?
You're so good at hiding it.
No, I was like being really dramatic that day.
Really?
It was the night, I think it was the day before, I just stuttered so so dramatically. That was fucking wild. Sounded like a DJ.
Like a fax machine.
I was being so dramatic that one day. Remember, we were about to go out. We went out and I wore Cupid. It was when me and Maisie were like walking on the street. I took that cute picture of you guys. We picked her up from the airport.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was that day. I like got home and I like I disassociated for the first time in like years.
Did you really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I disassociated like for the first few days of us going out every night.
Wow.
Yeah. But I was fine. Like I was okay.
Well, I think maybe it's because you've already done that and you've gotten on the other you're on the other side of that being new. So you're like, okay, and you know why you're feeling that too,
right?
Because it's like this recent thing that's happened.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, obviously this is from that. So I think you were like calm about it. There wasn't like panic happening, but like your body was responding, being like, this is different.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to feel about this.
Yeah.
I think you were maybe just like holding a lot of tension in your body.
Yeah. I think because also like my initial reaction was like distract.
Yeah.
Which honestly, like I will say helped so much.
That's what I've heard.
Like it really does. Like not saying like you still need to come to terms with it, obviously. But our best friend was here and like it was Halloween and it was just honestly like the perfect timing because we had so much to do and that's like the best thing to do. And I think I only like had a little panic like once when we got out of all of that and I was like, oh my God, I'm like alone. And like being alone is also something that just like freaks me out. So, but I've been good ever since. Like my anxiety, I like feel like a weight just like lifted.
That's great.
Just like being able to be alone, cuz like that's always just like terrified me and gave me so much anxiety. And I realized like, yeah, I can totally be alone and like be okay.
I think it's really important to like be able to be alone.
Yeah. It's a great feeling.
It's great. I'm happy for you.
Thanks.
Yay. I mean, yeah. Bottom line, if you're struggling, like, it's not weird. Like, a lot of people are going through something similar or maybe worse or maybe a little easier. Who knows? But, like, it's all normal. And it's, like, the only thing that's in our control is to be able to accept it. And I think that's a huge first step. And talking about it and finding someone you trust and just like being like, hey, can you help me work through something real quick? Obviously sometimes it's a turn off when people like trauma dump on you, but like I think approaching someone you genuinely trust and know like has love for you and being like, could you help me work through something real quick? Yeah. Then they'll be able to be like, of course. And they can give you that space. So maybe try that.
That was sweet. I need to do that. Yeah. He gives me advice every day, I swear. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about? I feel like I rambled. I'm so sorry. I talked for a really long time.
I feel like I covered a lot of my past anxiety and how to work through it. Meditating was huge for me through therapy. Like, never thought it would be, but then I like downloaded this app that like helped me. And the whole point is just to like watch your thoughts pass by and like not become them, because they really aren't. Like, they aren't you until you make it you know? So just kind of watching them, taking your power back by just like letting your thoughts float off and not become you is like super helpful. Yeah. And journaling's huge.
I need to get into journaling.
You should. You really should, especially after like a breakup. Yeah. I feel like that would be really helpful.
Yeah. Love you.
Love you. It's all for the best.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
it is.
Because on the other side of it all, you're going to be old and wiser and I don't know. I feel like going through hard shit is like that initial breakthrough to like having a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah, I learned so much about myself
Right? 'Cause
already.
like being in such depths of darkness has given me so much motivation to like make my life so healthy and stable and good.
Yeah.
And it's like my main driver, and I'm thankful for that, like truly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're so weird.
Please comment and tell us if you relate to us in any way.
Yeah.
Because that would be awesome to hear.
Yeah, for us too.
Yeah, for us too. But just know that like Austin said, it's like it's okay to feel things, and it's such an open conversation, so feel free to like release anything you want in the comments.
Yeah.
And we would love to respond, and it's just, yeah, I just feel like just be open about it, and it's okay.
I want our comments to be a safe space, so like please, if you are comfortable sharing, like feel free to just like share in the comments. And if you see a comment maybe that strikes your interest, or maybe you've been through something and you could provide like some kind words, like chat with each other, and like we're gonna be reading them all.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, I think it'd be amazing for us to all like create a really nice safe space.
Yeah, me too.
You know?
Yeah.
I like a little family.
A little
like,
fam.
I don't know.
A little fam. Little fam.
That we created.
That we created.
Babies.
Our babies, literally. But yeah.
I think we should wrap it up.
I think we should go. I think that's our cue. We love you guys so much, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.